What happens? You're going live.
You're live.
We're live?
Yeah.
On YouTube.
Oh, on YouTube. Okay.
So look here.
It's very confusing.
Tell people
Hi.
what's going on.
This is Chelsea.
Hi, guys.
This is Ari. This is, I don't know, this is James? Does it just look like our screen?
Yeah, it looks like this.
This is James. So, what was it, like 2-3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Me and Chelsea decided that we needed a
little getaway,
a little Disneyland
vacation.
trip. And we decided, I think we booked it on the 30th. We decided that we needed to go to Disneyland. And I messaged James and I said, hey, we want to go to Disneyland in 1 week. And he gave us a call and he booked the tickets for us and we left a week later. And it was crazy and it was awesome. And we had a great time. It was a good time.
So you're going to tell us the details of that. And if you guys have questions, I don't know how well they can hear me.
Yeah.
But if you guys have questions, leave them in the comments.
Yes.
And we will answer them.
Leave any questions in the comments. Camry's going to be our moderator. She will let us know what is going on.
And I'll throw some questions in as well.
Yes. So I originally went to the ConciEARS website because I wasn't sure like the best way to.
What time of night was it?
Oh my gosh.
I honestly.
I think it was like 11:30.
No, I don't think it was quite that late.
I think it was 9 o'clock at the earliest. Like it was pretty late.
It was it was late. I was like, we probably
Okay.
won't get an answer until tomorrow.
What time was it your
Let's
time,
see.
James?
Oh yeah.
Okay, it was not 9. It was 8 almost.
Okay.
What time is that for you, James? Okay. Yeah, I originally went to the ConciEARS website, which was really awesome. You can kind of scroll through, but then there's a little message icon at the bottom. I clicked on that and it paired me with someone who was actually like working at that hour. And I knew I wanted to work with James because I work with James. So I just asked if I could talk to James, and then James shot me a text and we hopped on the phone. We talked about what we wanted. Me and Chelsea were originally maybe planning on going for 3 days. We weren't sure. Ultimately, we decided just 2 days, and we figured out the best thing for like park hopper versus not doing a park hopper. We talked about what reservations we wanted to get, all of that. James got us tickets into the park, set up my Disney account, and like walked me through how to use it. And then we really wanted to get a couple reservations. We wanted to go to Oga's Cantina. We wanted to go to Blue Bayou, but since we were a week out, we couldn't get into Blue Bayou. So we went to Lamplight Lounge, which was super awesome.
It was so good, too.
It was so yummy. And the whole time, like the whole week leading up to our trip, James would check for those reservations for us.
Okay, let's pause for a second. Oh, wait. We don't know if we can hear James. Correct, Robbie?
Yeah.
So we're figuring out if we can hear James. James, can you give us an introduction for a moment?
And commenters, let us know if we can hear James.
Yeah, James, tell us who you are, what you do, and we will let you know if we can't hear you. I can't hear James.
Okay, we're going to try this.
Unplug the headphones.
Maybe.
1 sec. Sorry. Technical difficulties as usual.
All right, James, talk to us.
All right, so my name is James. I'm with ConciEARS, and I am a travel planner with them. And as you've probably heard about me and the company, many times with working with Lemons, almost been a year with us collabing, and this is the first time we've gotten to work together on a trip. So to go with what, in connection to what Ari was saying, so we've got some people who can answer in the chat or answer calls from us, and they forward us, who contacted us and if there's a specific planner that they're asking for. In this case, Ari was asking for me. So as soon as I saw her number, we connected and, chatted and, helped them with looking at the tickets. And also leading up, we even did a Google Meet to help run through what Genie Plus looks like, since that was another thing that you both got with your tickets. And then even while they're on the trip, they asked questions, and I think it was even the day before I snagged an Oga's reservation for them, like literally the day before.
I think even maybe the first day we were in the park, we got the Oga's Cantina reservation.
Yes, for the next day.
Yeah, Lamplight we got like 2 days before. I think we got Lamplight on the Sunday before we headed out, but Oga's I think we got on Tuesday, and we went to Oga's on Wednesday. So it was like very last minute, but it was nice that me and Chelsea didn't have to worry about like trying to get that reservation while we were in the park.
So how long did you guys spend, Ari and Chelsea, while you were on your trip, or even beforehand? How long did you guys spend booking things for your trip?
Like no time at all.
It was really that first initial night when we were working with James. We got our hotel booked that night. We got our airplane tickets. James helped us get all of the reservations, all of the Disney tickets. So, in total, probably
like an hour, maybe two.
And that's all the stuff that you booked is stuff that technically James.
Yeah, we ended
booked.
up booking our own hotel and flights just because we found really good deals. We had a couple connections there, but James could have booked that for us.
Right.
And then we would have probably spent even less time booking it.
Yeah.
And sorry, I'm talking from behind the computer. But it was kind of cool. I mean, just hearing their story, it sounded like James was able to make sure, correct me if I'm wrong, that you guys were like, hey, these are the prices we have. Are we going to be able to find better than this?
Yes.
And he's like, no way, that's the best. Go ahead with that, which is cool because then you know that you're getting the best.
Yeah,
deal.
we waited to book our hotel and flights until after we had talked to James just to make sure we had the best deal.
And that's some of the things that we are definitely very honest.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see if we could either match the deal or if there's something that, whether it's points or through somebody that you're getting some kind of discount, we'll definitely work with you as much as possible and book what needs to be done. In this case, it was just, I needed to help you book the tickets, and then over that weekend, I kept sending you, Ari, some things like, hey, here's some other restaurants, here's some quick service spots I would highly recommend over there, especially since Chelsea had been since she was very little. So if, she had just walked in and be like, I don't know where to eat, there's so much stuff to go on. Especially since when you first walk into the parks, you have that smell of food when you first walk there.
Yeah. I mean, that was super helpful. Like you said, it's been, I think the last time before that I've been to Disneyland, I was about 5 years old. So, this was kind of like the first time going for me, and it was a perfect experience because James really did all the hard stuff for us, so we could really focus on being there in the moment and just kind of being little kids again in the park. It was great.
Okay.
And the best thing I always tell people is it did not cost them any extra to work with me.
So we didn't actually pay James anything. I gave him my info and he got it for me and he put it on my account, but we didn't pay James anything. We just paid for our park tickets and our food, the stuff that we actually did in Disneyland. But using James was completely free. And yeah, it was awesome. Camry has a question for us.
Okay, so this is from our Instagram page. They wanted to know, did your hotel have a swimming pool?
Yes.
Our hotel did have a swimming pool. We stayed at the Hilton in Anaheim, which was 7 minutes from the park.
We could actually see Disneyland.
We could see California Adventure from our window.
Which is so cool.
We Ubered everywhere, but there was a bus that we could have taken that goes straight from the hotel to Disneyland. They did have a pool and a hot tub. We didn't use the pool, but
most importantly, they had a hot tub.
We used the hot tub at the end of the day.
You're so tired. So
it's a lot.
Okay, James, this is a question for you. Is there a hotel or a resort at Disneyland that that the people you help tend to prefer? Like, is there a customer favorite?
So, a few customer favorites that I have seen when booking at one of those good neighbor hotels near Disneyland is the Anaheim Hotel or the Best Western Mini Suites and also the Howard Johnson, because those are literally like right across the street. You can walk and you're right there at Disneyland. Usually, if we had a little bit more time, I would have maybe looked to see if there was something, but knowing that it was literally a week before their trip, I knew that, okay. And I did a quick check, like, okay, these weren't available for those days, so let's just go ahead and get them where they are. But those are some of the preferences I've heard in the past and people have had a really good experience for. And one of my things when you're going to Disneyland, sometimes we all would love to stay at the Disneyland hotels, but sometimes, that's not in the budget. So that's why I look to see what hotels are going to be as near as possible.
That's great. Chelsea, tell me about your experience as a first-time, quote-unquote, first-time Disneyland visitor.
Yeah, it was seriously so fun. Like, the first time walking through those gates and, like, being on that, is it Main Street? Yeah, Main Street Disneyland. Like, me and Ari were giggling like little kids. We couldn't stop. We were, like, skipping and giggling. It was, like, seriously so fun. We were able to, like, James helped us get the Genie Pass, so getting, like, into the lightning lanes to the rides, so I feel like there were only, like, a few rides that we had to wait.
Yeah, and we were only there for 2 days, and we pretty much didn't miss any rides that we wanted to go on. I think the only thing that we tried to go on we didn't quite get was soaring over the world, because it closed down when we had our lightning pass for it. But that wasn't a ride we cared about a whole lot. We went on Guardians of the Galaxy 3 times because it was Chelsea's favorite ride. She had never been on it before and didn't remember anything about it, and I just decided not to tell her anything about it. I said, she had no idea. I said, hey, Chelsea, what do you remember about Guardians of the Galaxy? She says, I know nothing about Guardians of the Galaxy. I said, what about Tower of Terror? She
Well,
goes,
I never even went to California Adventures, so never in my life did I even go on that side of the park.
And I thought everyone just knew, and she didn't, and I said, okay, and we get there, and they say, okay, enjoy your fall, and the doors close, and she goes, what?
And then
you
immediately just goes,
you instantly shoot up and shoot back down, and she was just open mouth, silent screaming for the first, 3 drops.
Any noise out
and
of
I
her
was just laughing so hard. It was awesome. It was so fun. So we went on that 3 times, but Splash Mountain was closed, so we couldn't do Splash Mountain, and that was the only ride that I was like, dang, we missed that ride. We went on everything else that we cared about.
It was so fun. The food was incredible.
Yeah.
We got the cutest little, like, raspberry macaroons that were to die for. So
Yes,
it was seriously so fun.
Okay.
One question I would ask you two, what would you think was your favorite food while you were there?
maybe those raspberry macaroons. But if we're going for like food, the potato skins at the Lamplight Lounge.
Oh, yes.
Those were it was just like an appetizer, but they were so good. But it's so hard because I also love like the beignets. I don't know.
So tell me, I don't know, both of the places you talked about eating at, I've never heard of. I've only eaten at the Blue Bayou. So tell me about those restaurants.
So we went to Oga's Cantina first, which is new because it's Star Wars, and it is a bar. It's a bar that you walk into, and it's set up like a Star Wars bar. You feel like
so fun.
you feel like you're walking into Star Wars. Everything is like there's music. There's like a droid DJ. There's creatures in tanks. I felt like most of the servers and the bartenders did like fun stuff with their hair and stuff to fit the Star Wars theme. They also have like the blue milk there, so we got blue milk. And then we got some fun drinks. Chelsea had a like foam on hers that made your mouth tingle.
Yeah, it was so weird.
It was so weird. We actually took some of it off because it was like a little too much, but it was so cool. And then they had this snack basket that was really yummy. It was mostly just like
Dried veggies.
dried
and
veggies.
stuff like
There was
Yeah.
some yummy. I don't know what the yummiest part was.
that.
It was really.
I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember when I went there what it was, but yeah, there's like some dried veggies. I
Yeah.
know when I've gotten there, I got the blue milk, and mine had like a cookie on top of
Yeah,
it.
it had a cookie on top that was delicious. And it was just so cool to like sit in there. And like the environment. And there was one point where like the power went out at the cantina, and it was like a little show in the middle of your like. It's not a meal because it's just like drinks and snacks, but like they like had to like stop it, like shoot, we're gonna have to kick everyone out, and then they get the droid going again, and it was like so fun, and everyone was totally like going in on it.
It's very
was awesome.
interactive.
Yeah.
It kept you on your toes.
And what about the Lamplight Cafe? What's the theme of that?
Lamplight is, I don't know why I didn't put this together until we were like there and eating there. It's the lamp that bounces across the screen for Pixar because it's on
cute.
Pixar Pier.
Yeah.
So the lamp, it didn't make sense to me until I got there. But it's on Pixar Pier, so we were like on the water. You go downstairs. They have seating upstairs, but we were downstairs, and you looked out, and there was the water. There was the Ferris wheel.
We
and
went
we
at
were
night, so
there at night, so it was lit up
gorgeous.
beautifully. They also have some cool drinks. We didn't get one that had dry ice in it, but they have one with dry ice and boba, so it like bubbles and it looks like a
It's like
little
a mad
science project.
scientist,
Yeah. But we got good stuff, and then the potato skins were so good. And
Yeah. And I know when, of course, World of Color comes back, they have balconies that you can sit on so you can see that water area. I don't know where you both saw it, if you sat outside or inside.
we were outside.
During-
And they even have community seating. So if you don't get a reservation, you can still go sit at a community table, and still go there if you want. And after our meal, they gave us coasters to take home that are like
sketches.
they're sketches of Disney characters. So we got like an Up sketch, an Incredible sketch, a little cute otter. Like it was just so fun.
Okay, I have a question for you, James. I was going to
Yes.
ask this earlier. So Chelsea and Ari said they spent like no time planning stuff for their trip. I'm curious how long you spent working on their trip. Like, what does the behind the scenes look like?
So for me, pretty much from the time I first got in contact with Ari until they left for their trip, even on their trip, I was pretty much working to get things, seeing, okay, where's the best places they could go, what attractions are included with Genie Plus, and so that way they were aware ahead of time what reservations I could make for them, and pretty much just making sure that they were up to date. So pretty much every day, I think for that week, I was doing something. And I think almost every day I was telling Ari something, like, here's what I found out, or sent her an email. Here's some places you gotta check out.
Yeah.
Here's the rides that are under refurbishment, like Splash Mountain's, like letting her know that that one unfortunately was coming back after she left. So just, and then even on the trip, she would ask me questions like, what shows are on at night and what is the schedule. So, letting them know, and even checking in with them, how's everything going? Is everything going okay? Any questions? Pretty much the way that my job always works is we say that our services start from the moment you first get in contact with us to the moment you leave to go home.
Yeah, it was awesome. We even did, so I planned any planning we did, I kind of did on my own just because Chelsea hadn't been before, so it was fun to kind of plan it for her. But me and James did a Google Meet this Sunday, before we left, and just talked about, when to get there for rope drop, and the best time to, when the busiest time is for rides, so we can, go to the tiki room while the rides are super busy. Even something that actually came up at the park, we were at the Jolly Holiday, and I overheard someone say, hey, do you know if there's any refillable drinking fountains? And I said, I do, because James had sent me an email with a list of all the refillable drinking fountains in Disneyland. So I was like, give me a second, let me find it, and I gave her a couple suggestions of where to go. But like, yeah, James had told me, hey, you're going to want to bring water bottles. You're walking around all day. It's hot. It's currently snowing in Utah, so we're pretty sad about that. But it was 90 degrees while we were there. It was lovely. I was so happy. But you want to have a water bottle, and it's always awkward to fill it up with the ones that just kind of are drinking fountains. So they have refillable water bottle stations too.
That's
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah.
And the nice thing, and eat not only water bottles, but you can bring snacks like granola bars. I mean, I've brought sandwiches in the past. So there are things that they will let you bring in if you didn't want to spend all day buying any of the food over there.
Which we wanted to, but
Okay, a couple more questions. So I sort of already know the answer to this one. You guys have never done a last minute Disney trip before this, right?
no, we've never done a last minute trip, period. I am not a spontaneous person. I don't know where this came from, but like, I think we briefly talked about going like Saturday night or something. I was like, Chelsea, what if we went to Disneyland? Like, we should plan a Disneyland trip. And then Sunday we were like, let's do it. But we had never done this before.
I'm gonna kind of alter this question. What, like, doing this on your own, what do you think would have stressed you out the most?
All of it.
Literally all of it. I don't know. I feel like the Disney website was not set up well for some reason. I feel like it should be set up better. For some reason, also, my computer kept putting the website in Spanish, and I couldn't change it to English. No matter what I did, it would always go to Spanish, which I don't speak Spanish. But I, like, couldn't find the Disneyland pricing to get tickets. I wasn't sure what would be I was like, we want to do both Disneyland and California Adventure, but should I just do, like, one day Disneyland, one day like, we weren't sure what would be best. So I wasn't even sure how to, like, get tickets
Like,
to
start it in
Disneyland.
the
We
first
did
place.
not know. Like I said, we did the hotel and the flights on our own, so that we could do. But even that, I was, like, so stressed until after I talked to James to make sure we got the best deal.
Yeah.
And even then, I am not a big money spender, and I'm not a spontaneous person. But after this trip, I was like, we could absolutely do that again.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pop in for just a sec. So I haven't we haven't been to Disney a ton, but a few years ago we took the whole family.
Yeah.
And I was involved in a lot of planning for that trip.
This is before we knew
This
James,
is
obviously.
before
We
we
would have used him.
unfortunately, and it was kind of stressful. Like, I know that Disney, you're gonna get Disney tickets, you're gonna have a good time, but like, it was overwhelming to try to like find a affordable place to stay for our whole family and make sure that we had all the tickets figured out and we're spending enough time at all the parks. And so I cannot imagine how much easier it would be if we did that again today, to just be like, help us, James.
Seriously.
And that's another thing that we specialize in. We, depending on what location you're going to, because we work with trips to Disneyland, Disney World, the Disney Cruise, Alani in Hawaii, Disneyland Paris, and even their Adventures by Disney excursions that they have. So we do a lot of different things, and based on how many people are involved or how big the family, there are different recommendations we make for each person.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to be best and easiest for you and your group of people. So
Yeah, we told him, we are flying in Monday. We flew in early Monday morning. We were like, but we need to fly out Thursday night. Like, what is the best scenario for us to do tickets? And do you feel like we'll get to do everything we want in 2 days, or do you feel like we'll be missing out if we only do 2 days? So, like, it was very specific for us, and knowing that, Chelsea had basically never been to the parks, so there was stuff that, we, like, couldn't miss.
right, and I remember where we briefly discussed whether a third day would be, an idea. And then I think was what we established was, the third day might feel a little bit rushed, but there was enough with the 2-day park hopper that you would be able to, especially because then it opened up the opportunity for you to be able to go to Disneyland at night, since they were open later in California
So that was
Adventure,
the
and
other
your
thing
day
is-
didn't have to end early.
I didn't realize when we booked our trip that it was Sweethearts Night at Disneyland on the Tuesday we were there, which means that Disney was closing an hour early. And I was like, oh, that's such a bummer. But because we had the park hopper, California Adventure wasn't closing an hour early, so we just made sure we started in Disneyland the first day, went to California Adventure second that day, and spent the evening there because the Disneyland park closed first.
Right.
Closed an hour
And that
early.
was there some other things that we look into as well. Is there anything going on that could close any of the parks, and that's help determine the
Right.
theme park reservations that they now require. We have to actually say which park you're starting into on that day.
Yeah.
And that was, as we were talking, that was one of the first things I always look at is saying, okay, is there openings in the parks? Because that also determines whether or not we can make the trip work. If they don't have theme park reservations, then we look at other options. But we got lucky that those 2 days had reservations open.
And I wouldn't recommend necessarily booking a last minute Disney trip. There's, more you can do. Like we probably could have gotten into Blue Bayou if it had been further out, but it totally worked for us. That just happened to be the best time for us to go.
It seriously was perfect.
Yeah,
though.
it worked out perfectly. But yeah,
It's not that you wouldn't recommend doing it. She's just saying
it's just more
if you
ideal.
have time
probably.
in advance.
Yeah, to book it further out.
Okay, another question. Do you guys have a preference? Have either of you been to Disney World?
I
Yes.
haven't, but Chelsea has.
Back when I was a wee
Do
baby.
you have any
girl,
memories of it?
I remember the Epcot ball, and I remember
Okay, so
the Epcot
I don't know
ball.
if we can really answer that question because we don't know.
James, do you have a preference between Disney World and Disneyland?
To be perfectly honest, I like them both for different reasons. I mean, I grew up going to Disneyland, so that is always going to hold a special place in my heart. But I do love Disney World because of how much there is there. I mean, one of the big differences between the two locations is Disney World is more so geared to staying on property because they have so many different hotels, and then of course they have 4 theme parks that are spread out. So like Chelsea was saying, there's Epcot, which is, I love it because you get to travel the world without having to leaving the U.S. And I don't know any other place that allows you to do that.
Okay, an unrelated travel question. I mean, you know what I mean.
Whatever.
What is each of your favorite Disney movies?
Ooh.
It's a big question.
I have a soft spot for Tangled in my heart. I think
Yeah.
that's one of the most underrated, princess movies.
That's tough. I would maybe say Emperor's New Groove.
The classic Bagley
The classic
family.
Bagley family favorite.
James, what about you?
I would say growing up, Lion King was definitely a movie that was on replay constantly for me.
Such a good one.
Yeah, I definitely have lots of favorites. I watched Little Mermaid with Steven, my nephew, yesterday. That was so fun. And I watched 101 Dalmatians like every single day growing up. I think Camry might hate that movie because I watched it
A little
every
bit.
day.
I don't hate it. I just have canine crunchies fun to eat. We make each meal
Yeah,
a special treat.
Anyway.
Always going through my head.
Make it a
at that
gif of us.
But I know right now for me as a parent, my kids are really into, my son is really into cars. So that was one, and Emperor's New Groove has been one that's been on replay constantly. And my daughter, who's 1.5, she's really into Winnie the Pooh and Anna and Elsa,
Mhm.
Cute.
which she loves saying Anna, Elsa, and back when, and I'll say this with Camry, when you sent me that video saying hi to my kids, that is one she asks for constantly because she loves seeing Anna, or loves seeing Elsa in real person. So that makes me excited to when the next time we go into the parks, because when we went last summer, she was still kind of young to kind of know what was going on, but this time I know when we go, she's going to be able to point out people that she sees, which is super exciting.
I definitely shed tears because they had an Anna and Elsa parade that would go, or a float, because they don't do parades right now, but they had a float that would go around every now and then, and I cried at it. A little bit for me, but also seeing all the little kids that were just like so excited to see Anna and Elsa, I was crying.
It was so cute.
Yeah.
And it was really fun in Disneyland, like, because they're not doing, like, up close with the characters right now, but there's so many characters, like, out and about.
We saw so many people.
Yeah, we saw so many, because you're just walking around the parks, and they're just kind of in their little spots, moving around, and it's
And
really
it didn't
fun.
take time. We didn't have to like wait in a line to say hi to them. You just kind of go up and we like took a couple pictures and then we left. So it wasn't like we were wasting valuable time waiting in line to meet these characters.
Okay, here's a question for Ari and Chelsea. Oh, James, did you have something to say about?
Oh, I was going to say, who was your favorite character that you got to interact with while you were there?
Frozone.
Frozone.
Yeah.
Tinkerbell was so fun.
Tinkerbell
Yeah.
was fun and cute. Yeah.
If you two could be, and James, you're welcome to answer this question as well. I know you're not a performer necessarily, but I've seen you act in some stuff, James. So for everyone, I'll ask this to everyone: if you could play any character in the Disney parks, who would you want it to be? There's no age restrictions, no body type restrictions. You could be anyone.
I mean, my obvious answer would be Ariel because you get to be in a tail. So I would maybe say Ariel.
I'd be the Spider-Man body double that just
Oh,
flex. probably Rapunzel. Love her.
James.
If I had to pick one person, I think I'd want to be Captain America.
Oh yeah, that would be fun.
Solid.
Because the other like tough ones for me would be like Wendy, who was always with Peter, because then you get to have that like fun interaction. Like we saw them on a float at one point, and she was so fun, just like teasing him and being like, "Oh my gosh, like I can't believe I'm putting up with this guy." And it's fun when you get to interact with someone. So that's a
That
hard.
would be fun.
Yeah.
Oh, I had another question. I forgot. It was just something I thought of.
We did go on Peter Pan. We did cry.
Oh,
That
I
was so.
I
It was
was
so
a
good.
blubbering mess.
Yeah.
I had like tears streaming down my
For
face.
some reason, I had never been on it. I didn't go on it when our family went on it back in 2017. So we made sure we went on it this time, and it was so lovely.
It was so cute.
Did you get to go on Snow White while you were there?
We didn't go on Snow White. That wasn't a need for us.
Snow White's pretty good.
Yeah,
It's not the same magic as Peter Pan, in my opinion. But
right. If we had an extra day, I do love those rides, like the Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. All those rides are fun for me. So I would have done more of those if we had an extra day, probably.
Okay.
Cameron keeps forgetting her
I
questions.
know. I keep thinking of good ones and then forgetting. Okay, if you were gonna take on Disney vacation to any other Disney venue, like Disney World, Disney Paris, Disney Tokyo, Disney Aulani, Disney Cruise, what would you choose?
Right now, I would maybe say Disney Cruise for me,
I would agree
but it's a
because
tough choice.
I've been to both parks. The Disney cruise is just unique. It's a more relaxing vacation.
Yeah, that makes sense. Where it seems like the parks are more like fun, doing a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. I've been
Yeah.
burnt out since our trip.
Yeah.
Tired.
I
Well,
would either agree with the cruise or do Paris, just because you're in Paris.
Spoiler alert: Disney Paris is not as cool as the other Disney parks.
Okay, then
I think my
okay, I'm
second
sticking with
choice-
the cruise.
My second choice would be like be Tokyo. I think just because I've had friends that have worked there, so I've seen a little bit of that park. That it looks really cool and awesome, and he'd be in Tokyo, so it's really cool.
Okay, well, I think we are wrapping up our live. If you guys have any last minute questions to drop in the comments, feel free. I want to know your favorite memory of the trip. And wait, before we do that, James, I want
Yes.
to know what your favorite part of being a travel planner is.
I think the best part for me about being a travel planner is helping to make those everlasting memories, and being able to be present throughout the whole duration of the trip, even if something hits the fan while they're on the trip. I mean, I've had that happen once or twice, and I want to know to ensure that people know that I provide a good service throughout the entire thing. And also helping to take that stress off, as Ari was mentioning earlier. Because sometimes you navigate the site, and I could tell you, if you probably took one look at the Disney World site and looked at all the hotels, like, I don't know what I'm supposed to go to. There's so many options. And I love to help break things down and try to figure out, what's going to be the best option for you, and plus getting to know lots of people.
I love that. Okay, now I want to know your guys' favorite top memory of the trip. Do you want to go first?
No.
Okay. Wait, I had one. Oh no. I would say Guardians of the Galaxy, maybe, because that one was just so prime that Chelsea had never seen it, had never been on
That's
it.
hilarious.
It was so
but
good.
after that, I would maybe say Rise of the Resistance, because it's funny. Me and Chelsea, I mean, I'm a decent Star Wars fan, but we're not like, we're not diehard Star Wars fans. We were at the park for other reasons. It was a plus that Star Wars Land was there, but Rise of the Resistance was so cool, and we tried to go on it twice. The first time we went on it, we got almost on the ride, like right before we get on the ride, and then it broke down, so we ended up going back the second day. And the whole time, even without us being diehard Star Wars fans, it was just like jaw-dropping, so cool. I would maybe say Rise of the Resistance for me.
Okay. Doesn't have to be a ride. Favorite
know.
memory in
Yeah.
general.
Oh no. It honestly might just be that first time walking through the gates. Just like that first initial burst of magic in your face, so fun, and just that setting in that you're in Disneyland and nothing else matters in the world. So
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, James, go ahead.
I was going to say, I do have a few questions for you too, because this
great.
kind of counts as our follow-up, and to let people know, whether
Yeah.
it's through text messages or phone calls. I always love to do follow-ups with people on trips. I'll ask them a question how things went. So with Rise of the Resistance, what was your reaction to having cast members being mean to you instead of, being the super helpful and friendly that you're used to seeing in a Disney park, because they're technically being the bad guys at that point. So what was that like for you?
I loved it.
it was so fun.
It was fantastic. I loved it. And if I was working that ride, that would be if I was working at the park, that would be my favorite ride to work, I think.
It was just, I think it helped just kind of bring you into that Star Wars world in general. It was just really fun.
For sure.
And did you both get to see Spider-Man swing?
Yes.
Yes.
We went and saw Spider-Man swing, which was also incredible. And Web Slingers was so fun.
Yes.
How'd you do?
We actually did pretty good.
I won.
She won.
Out of our cart of 4, I won. I feel very proud of
I
that.
think I was second. Was I second or was I third? I don't remember. But but it was awesome. It was so cool.
Okay, any other questions, James?
Did you get to go on Millennium Falcon?
Yes, we did go on Millennium Falcon. That one was also incredible. We did have maybe 8-year-olds flying our ship. So I think we could have done
I think
a little
one
better.
of them was 5.
Yeah,
but-
we crashed a few times. But even with that being said, it was still awesome and so cool and fun, because that one's very interactive.
It definitely is. And then I think the other thing I wanted to check with, because I know I had mentioned it, did you get to see the nighttime show at Disneyland while you were there?
We actually didn't end up doing that. We were just so tired. We were eating at Lamplight, and we were like, we're gonna pass out. So we ended up heading out a little bit earlier. But like I said, we could see the park from our hotel room. So we did see some really cool lights and stuff from our hotel room. And as we're walking out, of course, it was just beautiful. No. Camry, any last?
Yes, I just want to know, as a follow-up, why would you tell people to use ConciEARS for planning a Disney trip?
I think it just goes back to everything we said before. Like all the extra stress that you could have was just gone. Like really just being able to focus on the moment. Like I'm sure like being there with like your family or your kids, like would just be so magical. And so it was just super super nice that we didn't have to worry about any of the behind the scenes stuff.
And it's free.
So like,
Which
there's no
is
reason
like a
not to.
big.
Yeah.
It's a big thing for me. I mean, me and Chelsea, we're not in college, but we are essentially struggling college students.
The idea.
Yeah, I mean, we're in our early 20s. Like, that's not a time that you were just rolling in dough. And it was nice. I feel like I am a naturally anxious person. I don't feel like. I know that I'm a naturally anxious person. And so I feel like if I had booked it all myself, I would be so worried the week leading up to when we left, or if we had booked it earlier, the weeks or months leading up to when we left, that I'm like, what if I booked my tickets wrong? What if what if something goes wrong and I don't know how to handle it? And I didn't worry about anything. The second we booked everything Sunday night, we finished up at like 10, everything was booked, 10 or 11, it was done. I was like, even if something was to go wrong, I would just call James. So,
Right.
like, there was no worry. It was free. And we did very little. I mean, we booked everything within like an hour or two.
It's just worth it.
It was
Yeah.
worth it.
And I'll tell, I mean, the few hours we spent on the phone, that is more so because it was last minute. I mean,
Right.
usually when people do a little bit more planning, there's times, I'll send quotes, to different places and a package and just go over different things. But, I have done other last minute things. We're like, okay, let's see what's available. What can we do? Okay, here's what I can put on hold for you. Take advantage of this. This is the best deal you're going to get.
Mhm.
So it's taking it person by person. And this was one of those times with you two where it was like, okay, let's get everything going. We need to get these tickets now so that way you
Right.
don't lose out.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, I was a little worried that we would have to, to be spontaneous, you gotta do it all at once. Or at least for me, I would have maybe bailed later, and I'm glad I didn't. But we didn't have to wait till the next day. It was so quick. We got a response so fast on the website, and then it was like maybe 20 minutes later that James texted me, and he said, hey, can I call you in like 30 minutes? And he did, and we booked everything. And in between that time, that was me texting him saying, we want to go with these dates. This is kind of what we want to do. And I had talked to the person on the website about that too, so they gave James a little bit of information as well before he called me. And then we just talked it through and booked it, and we were done. And then we, left a week later, which was crazy.
And it was just that whole week just being in contact with each other
Yeah.
on just updates and giving you information that you needed, like knowing where the water stations are so that way you knew to stay hydrated throughout the
Yeah.
entire we try to think of the things that you may not know or may not think of.
Mm-hmm. Like, I wouldn't have thought to ask about water filling stations, but I mean, we used them and we helped someone else use them. So,
Okay, thank you, James, for coming on this live. Thank you, Chelsea and Ari, for being here and talking about your trip.
everyone, watch all of our videos 100 times a day so that we can go on another Disney trip.
I was just gonna say it was fun. I'll pop back on
Yeah.
screen, I suppose. Pop back on screen for the sign off. It was fun finally getting to use concierge. If you follow us on Instagram, which you should be, if you aren't, you should follow us at Working with Lemons. Follow James at James Disney Concierge, and follow ConciEARS at ConciEARS. But we've been working with James for a while. We know a lot about what he does, but it was really fun to actually get to see it in action. So thanks, Ari and Chelsea, for planning a spontaneous trip.
Right, and I will say that kind of played into what we wanted to do, because we're like, we want to take a trip. We just need to like get out of here, and I want to do it in a week. And I was like, what trip can we take in a week that won't make me want to die? And I knew that I could contact James to book it for me, which means so much less stress for me. I knew we were getting the best deals. And that definitely played into deciding, because we could have gone anywhere. We could have taken just a trip to California. We talked about going to Idaho. But I'm glad we went to Disneyland.
Anything.
Yeah.
Well, and kind of following up on that, even if you're not going on a Disney trip, we can still offer our services other places.
Yeah.
Like we've had people who book nothing but Universal trips, or even, I had a friend who went to their anniversary in Hawaii and did not stay in Aulani. So even that, we can still find ways to book stuff for
Yeah.
you. But one last question I will ask for you, Ari and Chelsea. Now that you got to use our service firsthand, what was the most surprising thing you think that came out of that?
How fast it was, how fast we got a response. And I mean, I knew it was going to be easy and I knew it was going to be free, but like those are things that you like don't totally believe until you've done it, like until you've really experienced it. You're like, there's got to be something that's like inconvenient about it, but there wasn't.
No. Honestly, just the amount of things that James helped us with, that like for it to be free is just insane. Like it doesn't make sense to me, but I'm not complaining about it.
So yeah, how fast it was and seriously how easy it was.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. Thanks for being here, guys. Share this with someone who is planning a Disney trip and let them know, even if they've already booked their tickets, they can transfer over to ConciEARS. James, thank you. And we're going
you.
to
You're welcome.
have a good day, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, I don't know how to.
Robbie, end the live.
Robbie's ending the live.
We don't know how to do
It's on this.
anything.
Oh, it's not.
We need Robbie to do everything for us.
Bye.
Oh, no, he's fine. It's time for him. Wait, don't leave yet. Wait,
You do it?
We're done. You can end it.